What's up, everybody? Josh Armijo here. I hope everybody's doing good and well and stuff. I got an album review to do for you, and I'm going to be talking to you about the new album from the band Abhomine, entitled Proselyte Parasite Plague. This is released on Hells Headbangers Records, Osmose Productions. Now, if you're not too familiar with this band, they're based out of Miami, Florida, and the best way to describe the sound of this band would be a very fast, aggressive, blasphemous hybrid of both black metal and death metal. Abhomine is primarily the solo project of one Pete Helmkamp. I really don't need to go into detail about who Pete Helmkamp is, but for those who happen to be in the uninitiated, you may best know Pete Helmkamp for his involvement in some absolutely important legacy bands within black and death metal, most notably Angel Corpse, Order from Chaos, Revenge, Feldgrau, just to name a few. His legacy in extreme metal is extremely important, and of course those projects are all amazing in their own respective right. Oh yeah, let's not forget Carasperus. Let's throw that in there too. But in 2016, we got a glimpse of what was going to be the latest project from Pete Helmkamp in the form of Larvae Awful Swine. With the exception of a session drummer, he pretty much did everything. He did the vocals, the lyrics, the guitars, the bass work, and altogether put out a very interesting album. It was short, sweet, to the point, but it had all the elements that you would probably know best from a Pete Helmkamp record, whether you're listening to anything else of his. And it has his distinct vocal styles, really crazy riffs, really weird, over-the-top lyrics, just made for something very interesting. And I thought that album was a blast. I thought it was fun to listen to, and it made me curious to hear what was going to be coming next. And now here we are with the next step in Abhomine's evolution with their second full-length entitled Proselyte Parasite Plague. Try saying that 5 times fast without losing your breath. But yeah, when I found out that there was going to be a new Abhomine album, of course, I was interested in hearing how things were going to work out, but it wasn't until he announced who he was going to be working with for this second album, and of course, he brought in a different drummer for this album, that drummer being Kaz Grant, or as you probably may know him best as the Black Lourde of Crucifixion. Yes, the Black Lourde of Crucifixion. The one that played in Grand Belial's Key, the one that played in Crucifier, that Black Lourde of Crucifixion. Upon hearing that, I was absolutely stunned and excited. This is an extreme metal fan's wet dream, I would say, having two very important, pioneering, legendary musicians joining forces, coming together to create music. You had no idea what ideas were going to be tossed around or created here. But now here we are with the second full-length album from Abhomine entitled Proselyte Parasite Plague. It's 6 tracks, and it clocks in at around 23.5 minutes. So one of the biggest differences about this album is the fact that this is a way shorter record. This almost borderlines on EP album length. So I don't know if I really want to be referring to this as a full-length album or not, but they're calling it a full-length, so that's what I'm going to do here. Second of all, you can tell that this sounds much different than Larvae Awful Swine. This definitely has a more raw, unvarnished, unkempt sort of quality going for it, almost unpolished in a sense. But I feel like that's what they were going for here with this album in terms of the overall production and sound quality here. It almost has a bit of an unfinished edge to it in certain ways, which makes for a really intriguing listening experience. I don't know how this will affect some of y'all, but I definitely think that this sounds different than the last Abhomine record. But aside from this album sounding different, you pretty much have all the P's and Q's you would know from an Abhomine record on this one here. And you hear it on tracks like Heresy Pulpit and Blacklist and the track that got first released with Progeny Devoid. Just some really typical Pete Helmkamp business going on here in terms of the riffs, in terms of the audible bass, and I definitely think that those parts definitely get the job done here. There's a lot of creative moments to be heard throughout this album, and I think it's very entertaining. When it comes to the drumming, of course, the Black Lourde of Crucifixion has a very distinctive sort of drum style, and I still think it's awesome that he's able to keep playing drums and do things at the speed he's able to. I think it really sounds good here. Really top quality, very natural. Like I mentioned earlier, it has that almost unvarnished, unfinished sort of quality going for it. But I definitely think the Black Lourde of Crucifixion makes this drum performance sound really, really solid. And when it comes to the vocals, once again, it's Pete Helmkamp doing Pete Helmkamp things. The minute you hear his voice on the opening parts of Heresy Pulpit, you already know you're going to be in for some entertaining stuff going on here. And of course, he does a really solid vocal performance. It's part of the course for everything you would expect to hear out of him, and it makes for something very interesting to listen to. But you also have the Black Lourde of Crucifixion's vocals here, and I definitely think his vocal style adds some much needed diversity going on here to match and combat what Pete Helmkamp is doing with his higher, raspier sort of register. And when you add the Black Lourde's low, guttural sort of roar mixed with Pete Helmkamp's raspier, higher register sort of yelling, it sounds cool. I really love the vocal diversity going on here when it comes to them going off of each other and just overall being really entertaining. So overall, I think this is a fun record as it is. I don't know if I like this more than I do Larvae Awful Swine. This is another different experimentation when it comes to Abhomine's sound. I don't know how others will resonate or sit with it, but for what it is, I think it's fun. I think it's fun. I wish it wasn't so short. I wish it could have sounded better, but that's really all I have to say as far as any detractions go about this record. But if you're into anything Pete Helmkamp does, I think you'll find something to enjoy with this. And if you're into anything the Black Lourde of Crucifixion does, you're going to find something interesting to enjoy with it. This is a very fascinating album, and this is definitely something that could grow on me with time. But for all intents and purposes, this is a fun record, and you should treat it as a fun record as such. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave you some links in the description box of how you can get a hold of this album and listen to it. I will leave you a link to the Abhomine Bandcamp page where you can listen to this album in its entirety, hear it for yourself, and be your own judge as to whether you think it's worthy of being purchased or not. You can stream it digitally. It is available physically as a CD and 12-inch vinyl. Hells Headbangers is releasing it in the US as they did the last time, and Osmose Productions is doing the international release as they did the last time. Of course, you can get some really interesting versions and variants of this album from whichever distro you happen to purchase it in, whether it's in the US or international. So again, the album is Proselyte Parasite Plague by Abhomine. This is released on Hells Headbangers Records, Osmose Productions. Definitely check this one out if you're into it. And for a score, I'm going to give this a pretty solid 8 out of 10. Very entertaining black death metal. I'm going to have to give this some more listens to let it resonate and marinate within me. But yeah, if you happen to have heard this album, definitely let me know what you think about it, how you feel about it, and how you think it compares to the previous Abhomine release. Or any of you guys into Abhomine, definitely let me know. I'm going to conclude this review. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for checking out my channel. Until the next time, Army Hell out.